screen.
Recording in progress.
I'm just going to make sure that all of us can see whatever is happening here. This is Kali Linux. I'm using Windows, so it is installed for something called VirtualBox. It's a technology that allows us to install more than one operating system on top of a host. So my host, I'm using Windows. Then we install VirtualBox. Then inside VirtualBox, I have two operating systems which I've configured. Kuna moja it's Ubuntu, the other one we are using it's Kali Linux. All of them are up now. Hizo ndo tuko tunazitumia kama testing environment because whatever we are doing, again, it's not a good idea to test it on someone else's system without authorization or without permission. And before I begin, because I'll have to do this, just a disclaimer that whatever we do here, we won't be responsible kama utaenda ujaribu mahali fulani bila ruhusa ama bila authorization. That will be up to you. For us, we're just doing an educational video ama video for educational purpose. So karibuni sana, I'll beg to begin. I'm sure wenye tuko that is enough. Kama kuna watu wengine wana join, sawa wanatupata mbele. With me here, I have two machines and the number of reasons I'm using two. Niko na hii hapa, then I have this other one. Hii ndio iko na camera because this one can't work. But huwa natumia both for my classes. Everything else I'm running zinatoka hapa, but I usually prefer ni type from here because of speed na vitu zingine za downtime. But anyway, it's no big problem. So information gathering, nitaanza na a little bit discussion, then tuende kwa in detail kiasi. Then I promised my group that we're going to use two tools. Leo tutafanya na two tools. That is Dimitri, and there's another one we call Nmap. Nmap is a famous scanning tool. So tutaona what's up with Nmap. For my group, the two operating system I'm using, that is Kali Linux and Ubuntu. Nilikuwa nimeinstall, nika-configure, then you are to download from your classroom. Hope you downloaded and configure them with the IP. If you look at my screen, root whatever nimeping hapa, this is the IP address of our victim machine. That is Ubuntu. It's already on, so I'm not using it, so I won't bother to show you how it's being set up. But mwisho I'll share my entire screen so that you can see what was happening. All right, now information gathering. Your side is the second stage in what you call ethical hacking or penetration testing. And information gathering, just from the name, in intel to gather information, intel about your victim or your target, and that intel includes things like okay, under pre-engagement, ulitafuta your target in terms of domain and public IP. Ukikuja kwa information gathering, unaweza kuangalia now more information like open ports, services running on those ports, kama wako na web server, how many hosts ziko available in that network, something such kind of details. Pia how their network imekuwa structured, and also something to do with their firewall. How strong is their firewall? Nini inapita through their firewall or not? So under information gathering, that's what you do. Ni kama, okay, I don't like using this one. Ni kama robbery. If you want to rob someone's place, compound, after umejua ni wapi, of course your target ni wapi, utasanya a few intel about the players, like sangapi wametoka, like of things, what kind of security wako nayo, wako na soja, wako na dogi, such kind of thing. So in ethical hacking or penetration testing, information gathering is same doing. But sasa now for us it's not necessary. We are using softwares to do that, and information gathering ni kitu kubwa sana. It's usually divided into two stages, na pia that depends na your target. The first part is what we call passive information gathering. Passive ni, you don't involve the victim, you don't involve the target machine, we involve like directly. Then we have what we call active information gathering, which I won't talk so much about it today. You're involving your target actively. But just to explain, passive ni ile yako huko tu na ni kama kumspy chini ya maji. I have no idea of you or whatever you're doing. Active, they have an idea of you, but they don't know what you're doing. And active information gathering include things to do with social engineering. Maybe let's say me na target system ali, then I know the person who works there as a staff member, ama maybe anawa kwa department ya ICT na anadila hizi vitu. Najua nikipata a few passwords from that person, nitakuwa able to gain access in some way. So that is what we call active information gathering. So you'll go to such a person, befriend, ama tu mtafute tu maybe kwa social media, mkuwe mabeshte. So mkikuwa mabeshte, you'll be interacting and talking, but your real intention is to collect information from that guy indirectly though. So in that way utaweza kupata password kama zake juu, of course mkipiga story anakuambia hobby zake, talent, vitu anapenda, vitu apendi. So from there, because most of us, that's how we construct our password. Like let me say 90% of people, password umeweka ama pin umeweka is something related to you. If it's a password, it can be maybe your name mixed with maybe your admission number. It can be the year you were born mixed with maybe the name of your favorite pet, maybe favorite football club, vitu kaa hizo. So akisanya details kutoka kwako hizo ndio atakuwa na record. Then there's something we call a word list ama word dictionary. Akiweza kuzifeed hapo, akijaribu kucrack one of your password, if any of them will match either of those things, atapata password yako rahisi. So that one is what we call active information gathering. But today we are not dealing with that. To side to information. Today we are dealing with what we call passive information gathering. And passive information gathering, you can be either connected directly to your victim or indirectly. Directly, that means unaenda kwa your system, you are part of that network. Indirectly means you are very far away. You are only connected via the internet. And in most cases, inakuanga hivyo. So in such cases, you'll need to come up with your own softwares and automate the existing ones. That is if you have a trick, like the way you're going to do today. Then using those software, uta collect a few info. Of course, hakunanga system iko 100% secure. Hakuna, that one I can assure you. So kazi yako is to make sure you look for that fault. Your mistake moja walimake, ama those two mistake walimake. That is your work kuitafuta. And also, when you're doing what we call information gathering, it will depend on your intention to that system. Kuna mtu intention yake kwa system is maybe to cause something called DOS, denial of service. There's someone who is interested in the database, maybe anataka kwenda kuhata something or maybe to add something in the database. Another person can just be interested in the host, the operating system in Aranuko. Anataka tu kuona what he can change. Maybe mpatie something like a backdoor next time akirudi, ama maybe anataka kuachieve something else later. So it depends na your intention, unataka kwenda kufanya nini huko. If it's testing for penetration testing, usually wana combining zote. So when they're doing the scanning, our scan wakifocus kwa database ama sijui kwa nini, and that's the same thing I'm going to do today. But penye kuna kuwa na a few details, I'll be able to show you the different. So if you have a security distribution of Linux, that is, if it's Kali Linux, ziko kadhaa, unaweza tumia Kali Linux, unaweza tumia open source intelligence, ama OSINT, Parrot. Those are some of the few examples of security distributions za Linux. Hizo zingine kama Ubuntu, Mint, hizo hazina most of this software. Kali Linux comes pre-installed with most of these tools, including vitu kama Nmap. For my group, hizi vitu zote zimekuwa installed, most of them, the ones we shall be using. So under information gathering, unaweza ona a number of them. Kuna Dimitri, we have Nmap and Nmap are the same. We have Maltego. Zingine ziko hapa kama the Harvester, they are not there. But I guess this is tuongelea the other session. I'm only interested with Dimitri and Nmap. But before I go to those tools, just to go back, nirudisha tu nyuma kidogo because most of our friends here are still wamejoin leo. So nataka tu kuwaonesha what I did last time of the first step, before you come now to gather information. The first step was to identify your target. And we discussed two ways you can do that. The easiest way we said was ping. My Kali is not connected to the internet. It's connected to The other one, so allow me to open a browser. Let me open a browser. And maybe CMD. So the two ways to learn ya ku identify your target, one of them is ping. Anytime you, and I usually say it's not something illegal you're doing. Ping itakupatia itakwambia if ICMP packets can pass through the firewall of your target, kama inaweza pita through, it will be able to tell you because it will respond back. But anyway, kitu cha muhimu tulikuwa natafuta was the public IP. So if you know the domain, because domain ni kitu what most tunajua, if you know the domain, if you know the domain of your target, it's easier to get the public IP. So you simply ping. Oh, let me share my CMD. And I'm doing it on Windows. You can do it online. The ping is just a ping. So let me just take an example of Facebook. We're not doing something to harm them. Facebook.com. So if I ping them, you'll see it will reply, but it reply with an IP address. So that is now the public IP of Facebook. So that's the first thing we should gather about your target, because domain is not that reliable. And also here, at least we are seeing it's replying from, so that means ICMP packets are able to penetrate through their file, and that is something good for a hacker. Then I give you an example of a system that cannot allow ICMP packets. It's just an example. It's something I know. This is an institution, chuka.ac.ke. This is a domain, but as you can see, it's giving us destination host unreachable, but it has been able to reply with the public IP. At least imetupatia hiyo, but inatuambia hivi. This one means the firewall in a block the ICMP packets, in block as it penetrate. Now this one, nikicombine this two system, najua mtu ananiambia this can be more secure than the other one. It depend on other factors, but in terms of their firewall, I think this one is more stronger than this other one. From the beginning, it doesn't mean it's like so. That is the first way to learn how you can establish your target. The other way, we were using what we call their website. There are a number of websites you can use. A lot of them. Let me share my browser. There are a lot of websites you can use to again find information about your target. I'm hoping my browser is visible. And one of those websites, I know of what we call ELPO-TECH. ELPO-TECH is a very good one. Nimeitumia several times. And the good thing I like about ELPO-TECH or ipinfo.info, inakupatia details most. In case you may get stuck about maybe a friend to your target. I mean, maybe when you're on a target, haujui domain or you don't know the IP, but you know the services they do. Maybe inaweza kuwa na target. Do you know the company that register domains? I don't know the company. Okay, now I know. I know the name. I don't know the domain. I don't know the IP. But every site iko na domain ni hao wana register. So another way I can get to them is by finding their client. That is any website in a domain. Anyway, let me open up this check info. Kuna sites zingine ukienda kwa internet huwezi kosa. The other sites. So I'll use the same example nimetumia kwa CMD. I'll use facebook.com. If I click on check, let me just show you what it will give us. So if I check on this one, okay, imeanza na kutupatia domain, then imetupatia the public IP. And for Facebook, they have different servers, different locations. So the IP address is back a constant. Anytime, if you perform this same, your IP, public IP itakuwa different because they have a number of servers. But for this small system, wanakuanga tu na moja. or a group of them. So DNS lookup imetupatia public IP, which is something good. Hapa inatupatia the location of this server. So if you want to know where that server is, the location of your target, if you click on Google Maps, it should be able to open for you. So utajua exactly where they're located in case you want to go there. So location is angalia hapo. This one is it Ireland or Ireland? Yeah, that. You can zoom in to see the exact place, the street, blah, blah, blah. Those are the details. Then I'm interested in these other details hapa chini. Domain check. It's giving us, okay, this is the domain name. The register of domain inatupatia. The who is server. Creation date, the date will create this domain. That is 1997, 29th of March, around this around 5 m. Times sijui kama iko accurate. Then that will update this domain. So unajua domain huwa na renew yearly huwa na renew. So the date will renew here, it was on 26th January this year. So such kind of details pia inaweza kuwa important. But this is not something harmful. Not something harmful. It's not illegal. It's legal to do that. Kuna registrar, kuna contact email, kuna abuse contact phone. So in case of any abuse, this is where they report from. What else? Let me see if there's something new huko chini. Kuna registrant organization, of course, Meta Platform. It's a famous company if you know the internet. Registrant street, this is where the registrant is found, the street, the city, the state, postal code, country, and their phone number. So inakupatia a few details pia unaweza tumia. And that is if you're interested in them, because peer penetration testing ndio wanaweza tumia kitu kama hizi. They can just call the registrant kuwapima tu bangi. Or a few details about a certain domain. So if they can leak out some details, that again is something. Your system might be safe, but mwenye alikufanyia vitu they may not be that safe. So unaweza hitaji kuadvise kuambia hapa na hapa, don't give out these details. Some of these naona tu inajirepeat. So it can give you more than this or less depending pia ni nani. Google Map tushaangalia. Now, so this one is just a range of whatever this where these servers are located. This is where the IP of them brings in a range. So if you're performing a scan, at least kurahisishia kazi is from 64 to 127. My group, you know how to calculate subnet from there. You can calculate how many hosts wanaweza kuwa now in case wako the maximum number of hosts zilijaa kitambo. You can calculate how many. This other information can be important if you know what it means. Hizo ni details zao where you can find them. In role ya nani, address, network engineering, address, fourth, grand, canal square, email. Okay, let me use the other one. Let me use the other one. Nashinda ikirepeat. Let me go with the chuka one. Ile ilikuwa ikubali ICMP packets. Let's see what it will give us. So let me check. Give it some time. Let me refresh and type again. Click on check. So ukiona nakuuliza hii security check na hizo zingine hazikutueleza. Chumni ni nini? There's a chumni. Verify. Ukifanya hivyo tu unajua tu penye where you're trying to get that info, it's more safer. But for Facebook haikutuuliza. Okay. Kwani nimefail hii kitu? Okay. Let me make sure imenipatia. don't think it can block us. It's supposed to give us something. Okay. Okay, let me give it some few minutes. Kama itakubali ni sawa, but it will give you something. Haiwezi kuletea blank just because they're secure. This is something safer, not something to make them scared. Then some of this coding ukifanya usually in our notify, so you have to do it also in a safer way so that you don't raise alarms. It's something just silent. Let me give it some time. Ikifunguka, I'll come back and show you. Meanwhile, let me go back to where my Linux was. So that's how we identified our targets. And for my group, target yako ilikuwa that Ubuntu victim. Nilikuwa nimeconfigure iko vulnerable in some way, just something easy for you. So after you've done that, now you come out with the information gathering stage. So today I said we're going to use two tools, and we're going to see each one of them. I'll start with Dimitri. Dimitri is a famous tool, but mostly najua ina work vizuri sana. Usually works well when you're online, and if you're working with the real domain, yetu najua serial, so it won't give us what we expect. So Dimitri by default inakuanga installed to any security distribution of Linux, as I said before. To use it, you simply just type the name, Dimitri. So if I do Dimitri, then help, just to see a number of commands utatumia. Haikuangi kitu kubwa sana, but usually a good tool to start with. For starters, you can use Dimitri. Those are some of the options iko nayo, tutaangalia zote, just a number of them. Then before nifike hapo, I've mentioned something to do with ports. I'm not going to explain ports, just in case kuna mtu elewa ports are. We know about IP addresses, public IP, or let me talk in terms of IP. Before you access a machine that is online or connected to any network, usually inakuanga with that thing called IP address. So IP address when identify devices, just like we talked last session. IP na identify machine, but once umefika kwa machine, there are a number of programs running. Kuna your operating system, the shell is running. Kuna mtu anatumia maybe a web server, so there are a number of services running. So how does it differentiate that this one goes to email and not this one goes to maybe you're playing something on YouTube? So to do that, machine inatumianga something called ports. Those are numbers ranging between 0 and 65,400 and something. I don't know, 414, I think. In most cases inakuanga between 0 and 1,000. So if you do your scanning inakuambianga 1,000 ports. Yeah, but it's more than that. Now ports ni zile numbers zina represent a program. So YouTube iko na its own port when you're using it. Another program, maybe a web server, iko na its own port. Ukienda another service iko na its own port. So detail ikifika via the IP address, ikifika kwa machine yako, hiyo port itaimap to the respective program. So if you are targeting maybe a web server, by default inatumianga port 80 ama port 443 if it's a secure connection. So port 80 ama port 443 inakuanga map to what we call the web service, ama HTTP. It's the service, ama HTTPS. Hiyo ndio services zinamapiwa. So hiyo inakuanga kazi ya port. Port ina map a service na whatever detail imeitishwa. And if you're hacking a system, it has to be via port. Huwezi tokea tu from nowhere and boom, you're inside. Let me use an example of the robbery. Ilikuwa nimetumia before. When you're going somewhere to rob, of course wako na locks. Gate ni moja, yes, but iko na locks. Kuna lock ya store, kuna lock ya hapa, kuna lock. Take those locks as ports. So as much as naweza ingia kwa hii compound, siwezi iba anything if I don't know, ama if I don't focus on a certain port. So naweza ingia store but nikapitia maybe nikaruka ceiling, nikaruka city ama kwa nyumba main, kwa sababu nyumba main iko na more powerful padlock. You can do that. So those padlocks, the ports now. So you may be targeting something, but now because you can't reach there, kuna port upande tu kuna bahati mbaya because they make that mistake. Kuna port iliyoacha tu hanging, it's not doing anything and it's open. You can use that port. Once you get things, so wewe mwenyewe ndio find yourself to maybe a different program. Before niendelea, in 3 minutes you're going to have a break, and the break is only 5 minutes. So after 5 minutes, una log into automatic, the meeting itakuwa started. So usisahau isikukata off alafu kafikiri meeting imeisha. No, ijaisha. Hii ni first session, then kuna second session ya mwisho. Anyway, let me keep explaining. I was explaining a port, nikidhani nikiexplain hivyo port mnaelewa. Then every port inakuanga map to a unique service. So by default mtu akikwambia port 80 ama port 443, what comes in your mind is HTTP ama HTTPS. Nikikwambia port like 8080, you'll be talking of Apache. Apache, that is the web server, ama Tomcat. If I talk of port 22, 22 is for SSH, secure shell. If I talk of port 21, that is FTP. So zinakuanga na hivyo tu. So kila port inakuanga na its own unique work, but you can configure a port to have a unique service. Unaweza amua tu sasa leo because I don't want, na nimeona hiyo inatumiwa sana na these internet service providers. You mmezoea port 80 ama port 443 is the only way you can access their devices. Wana change, unapata instead of port 80 they're using maybe port 8005. You can change as long as you enable something called port forwarding on your router. So ports itatusaidia kumap. So if you are scanning, we'll be scanning with the ports. Ukiona nimesema something is being cancelled because of a firewall, that is a port. Your port iko in a sense we usually call filtered. Iko filtered, kuna ka security kiasi. Anyway, because I only have like a minute and a half before my break, naona nikianza na Dimitri, I won't mix it. Let me leave the second session for 20 minutes, Dimitri, then 20 minutes. I shall talk about Nmap, and Nmap is a very powerful tool. Anyone doing hacking ama ethical hacking ama penetration testing, lazima upitie hapo. It's the only way. Anyway, then we are rolling out this course. Wenye wako sahi ni wenye walikuwa wameanza before. Actually wamebakisha something like 4 or 5 weeks wamalize. Wakimaliza from 11th of July, we are rolling another team for 10 weeks. So kama kuna mtu wako interested, because watu wengi walikuwa wanaanza kama ni legit, there is something legit watu wanasoma. So if you're interested, kuna hiyo form nimeshinda nikituma, you can simply sign up via that link kwa hiyo website. Ukisign up, tutakuja tukuongeze kwa class and these other things, then ikifika 11 we shall start as a group, and I can assure you can't regret. You can ask your friends who are still here. Wamefaidika sana, though inakuanga na pressure kidogo because it's something you have to know. There's no way utasoma for 10 weeks then after 10 weeks hakuna kitu unajua ama uwezi fanya kitu. So tunakuanga na hiyo pace just to make sure. Please remember to log in after 3 to 5